You just don't know when to quit.
Yeah, I've been told that before.
Wow. Are you guys seeing this?
I need a weapon.
Hello there.
You with you?
I thought yours was good.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Slav's Free Talk Podcast. Today's episode is going to be, well, very DC-centric. I didn't have a Watchtower last week, so I felt let's kind of push a lot of these stories to, well, today's Slav's Free Talk. I will have one story that is not DC-centric, but this is a story I have to talk about because, well, it's near and dear to my heart. It's Star Wars. I know. Some of you don't like when I talk Star Wars, but I can't help it. I have to talk Star Wars when there's Star Wars stuff to talk about. I got to do it. I have to. So let's dive in. What's going on, everybody? Glad you can make it. I'm happy to see some of you here, such as, let's see who is all here. We've got Donovan in here. He goes, oh, this should be very interesting. Yes, indeed. Critic Chris says, hey, Slav and everyone, what's going on? Critic Chris. Kevco is here, says, good evening, y'all. What's going on, Kevco? Eric. Oh, that moved. Eric says, sup, man? By the way, have you seen series Pluribus yet? So good. I have not gotten a chance to see it yet. We typically do one new series where we watch along with the series at a time, and we're doing Welcome to Derry right now. And then we have like old series that we'll watch, while we're in the middle of that. So we actually just finished, Chad Powers, because that was on a couple months ago. So we just watched those 6 episodes. We're, watching Welcome to Derry. And then obviously, unfortunately, Welcome to Derry is not done yet. I will be watching Stranger Things in a couple days here, but I mean, come on, that's cultural significance. You gotta be involved, involved in that discussion there. So I will be watching that. But Pluribus, I will be getting to probably in the new year, like January sometime. Probably once I get caught up on everything else that I want to get caught up on, and then I'll be jumping into Pluribus once season 1's over. I'll probably jump into it. So, but I have heard some great things. I am looking forward to it. Let's see what else. Who else? We got Trayvon in here. Says, I was wondering if we were having a show tonight. Let's go. Yeah. Again, sorry about last week with the Watchtower. Just, as always, life gets the better of me sometimes. And I didn't even put anything out there. Like I was a bad YouTuber podcaster the other day. I didn't say anything. That's my fault. My bad, guys. My bad. Artface says, hey man. Real Anarchy Ben's in the chat says, hey chat, working and listening. Awesome. Thanks for stopping by. Who else? Anybody else in here right now? We got Movie Talk Now. Hello, friends. Hello. All right. So Eric says, right now I'm just waiting for Stranger Things final. Yeah, look, I'm looking forward to it. Look, I'm worried about the finale or the whole final season. I am worried because this is a show that I've really loved from start to where we're at now. It's had its down moments for sure, but I just want them to go out on a high note. I really, really do, and I hope they can deliver. I really do. Artface asks, can you make a video about how the other YouTubers that are only Snyder fans are completely crazy for not giving the other movie directors a chance for them to make a DC movie? I think I've done that many times. I talk about that a lot. You're not wrong, though. I mean, let's face it. You are not wrong, because I've said this so many times. Like, we have the DCU right now, and James Gunn made Superman, and some people love it, some people don't like it, and that's fine. there's going to be other directors, there's going to be other writers, there's going to be other creatives that create within the DCU. And I think these people need to give them a chance. They need to see what is going to be created within the DCU that isn't being led by James Gunn before anybody can sit there and say the DCU is a failure. I was having this discussion on X today, which my X was completely weird and wild today. Let me just tell you, it was very, very interesting. In my opinion, it was a wild day. But I was having that conversation today, and it's one of those things, like, people have this mindset that it's all James Gunn. Like, it's 100% James Gunn. Everything is James Gunn DCU. DCU is only James Gunn. And it's so bizarre that people have this mindset and they refuse to acknowledge that there is more to the DCU than James Gunn. Yes, the only difference between how James Gunn is running the DCU and how Kevin Feige runs the MCU is that James Gunn is a director and a writer. And he's able to get involved in that way, where Kevin Feige, he doesn't direct. He's not involved in that way. That's the major difference. So while the MCU, we see different directors for all these different films, but I mean, you're going to see the same thing in the DCU, and people don't understand that. And where this conversation stems from is we sit there and everybody loves to talk about how if we bring Snyder back, it's going to fix everything. Well, no, because there was a lot of people who did not like what Zack Snyder was doing. And there's a lot of people that did like what he was doing. And there's no denying that. Just like with James Gunn, there's a lot of people that like it, a lot of people that don't. But there is a brighter upside to what is going on with the DCU than what would be going on under Zack Snyder. And the reason why I say that is because tonally, aesthetically, and just the scale of what can be done under the DCU being led by James Gunn is much grander, much larger than what was ever planned under Zack Snyder. And no, Zack Snyder wasn't in charge. He laid out a plan, an idea, and was kind of like, hey, here's some ideas. I'll help you make a Wonder Woman movie, a Suicide Squad, a Batman movie, a Flash movie, a Cyborg. Like, I'll give you the ideas and some story ideas for this on how we can build out from here. But he wasn't really the man in charge. But even then, there was an ending for his story that would have kind of handcuffed the creatives at that point. Whereas with James Gunn, first off, tonally and aesthetically, it is much more pleasing to the large-scale audience. That is what the audience likes when it comes to comic book movies and the genre. As well as, hey, you have all these different directors, all of these different ideas that they're willing to go with, that is not just stuck in the humorous side. Look at what they're doing with Clayface. Look at what they're doing with Lanterns. Look at what they did with Superman. Look at what they're doing with Supergirl. They're going in all these different directions. So in my opinion, you're exactly right, Artface, that they need to give them a chance to do something different. And I went on a long tirade here, but yes, they do. They need to give them a different chance, another chance, or not another chance, but a chance to highlight these other directors and filmmakers, because it's going to be completely different than what we've seen in the past. All right. What else do we got here? Where did I? Shouldn't have turned that off. There it is. Talking about Stranger Things. Donovan says, Maya Hawke said for Stranger Things, it's literally going to throw you right into action the moment it begins. That's exciting. That is exciting for sure. Hunter Iggy says, did you see that Zack Snyder where'd my picture go? There it is. Did you see that Zack Snyder bros believe that Russo brothers and Zack Snyder are doing a crossover? Okay. I wanted to touch on this. I may touch on this in my members only video again. I may not now, but I will touch on it here. So I don't know if you guys remember, There was a story, I want to say maybe about a year ago, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. I don't remember the exact date, but there was a story that came out where there was a discussion that James Gunn had and said, "Oh yeah, there was always discussion or something like that about a crossover with Kevin Feige, the MCU and DCU." I don't remember the exact wording, but there was like this discussion that anything's possible, type of thing. And that was like an article or something that came out back then. This whole idea of this crossover with the Russo brothers and Zack Snyder now, it's really funny. Now, there's some little truth thrown in here. Now, I want to bring up Cosmic Book News here because they're the ones that kind of started this whole thing. I'm going to give Cosmic Book News credit here because they do exactly what any good scooping website does. And let me explain to you here. A good scooping website does two things. Number one, they take a story that is truthful so that that can be built off of truth. So the MCU and the DC film universe crossover event. There's some truth built onto that because, like I said, about a year or so ago, give or take, there was a story that there was a discussion had, or that there were discussions, or that they've talked about it, or something like that. I don't remember exactly. So there's the truth. So a good scooping site will do one: take a potential truth, a partial truth, and then what they will do is they will build off that partial truth or that truth and make it their own. So it's believable. And that's what a good scooper site, those are two big things that scooper sites will do. And that is exactly what Cosmic Book News does almost 99% of the time. I just made up that number. I don't know how many. It could be 100% of the time for all I know. But they do it most of the time, okay? They do it most of the time. So what they do is they take this idea that they've seen, and they know. And here's another crazy thing. They know that Zach and the Russo brothers are they friends? I don't know, but they've had conversations. They did that interview thing together, whatever it's called, that interview thing that they did together, where they sat down and they discussed and asked questions and stuff like that with each other, and then it was posted online. So they know. Oh, they've talked before. They've talked to each other before. Okay, so there's another truth. So then they have their backup to say, oh look, they're friends. They've had a conversation before. So that's number two. They can sit there and go back to that. And then number three is all this talk right now that the Snyderverse could come back, in their opinion and what they're saying. The Snyderverse could come back because that's what they're saying. So it's all about building false hope, false hype off of old stories that they slightly twist to fit their narrative. And they do it over and over and over and over again. And I encourage you, if you see these stories again, specifically from Cosmic Book News, because they're kind of the big ones right now, I encourage you to take that story and look for those pieces. Look for the truth that's in there and kind of work your way backwards to what is the real truth? Where did it come from? And then see how it fits their narrative. For instance, they did it just the other day with the big thing I'm going to talk about in the members only channel is with Zack Snyder's films getting all canceled at Netflix. And their whole reasoning was, oh, Zack Snyder's moving from Netflix to go start the Snyderverse. Like, no, that's not what it is. So you got to pay attention to that kind of stuff. It's crazy, but and again, I give them credit because they're playing the game like it's supposed to be played from a scooper standpoint, but it is completely wrong to do to people that rely on them for things. And nobody should rely on them for news, but that's what they do. Let's see, anybody else here that I want to talk to before we get on to the first topic, because we're already 15 minutes in, guys. Donovan says they aren't a scooping site, they're a glorified blog and tabloid. Worse than TMZ. I don't know. I might give TMZ a little credit, more credit than them. That's bad. Oh, man. All right. Let's move to the first topic. And I know. This is the only non-DC thing we're going to talk about today, guys. I know. I'm sorry, but I had to talk about it. All right. So Lesley Headland, who was the showrunner, creator, the overall mind of The Acolyte that came out a couple years ago, that garbage disposal of a Star Wars show, she has decided to attack the fans once more. Now, look, maybe you liked The Acolyte. Maybe it was a show that you enjoyed. I did not enjoy it. I thought it was a complete dumpster fire. That from the moment the show started to the moment it ended, leaving politics out of it, there were so many issues, so many holes, so many problems, from script to dialogue to canon issues to lore issues. There were just so many problems with that show that it was atrocious. It was terrible. But then you add in all the political side of things. Yeah, it got even worse. It got even worse. Okay. But she was, obviously asked about it, and she opened up about framing The Acolyte as some bold creative experiment unlike anything Star Wars had done before, saying it was some major risk. And look, setting a show in the High Republic era is a risk, but let's calm down on the no Skywalker saga ties pitch when the show featured a Jedi. And that was kind of the thing. She tried to pitch it like, oh, look, this was a big risk because there was no Skywalker ties. It was set in the New Republic era, or the High Republic era. And it was such a risk, and we had to take this risk, and was not focusing on things that we've ever known before, and blah blah blah. But it focused on Jedi, which we know. It focused. There were Skywalker ties to a point, but you also brought in Yoda. You talked about Yoda, then you brought in Yoda. I mean, look, it wasn't that big of a stretch to say there wasn't much risk here. All you had to do was have a lot of cool lightsaber battles and a half decent story and not break lore, and you would have been good. But all you did was slap all Star Wars fans in the face, make a terrible show with horrendous story, and you just slapped all Star Wars fans in the face. So she says she wasn't online during peak discourse, but she claims she had been deeply embedded in the YouTube Star Wars scene for years previously, watching creators, following their takes, and supporting them on Patreon. And yes, apparently she paid those people. These guys, she says, I've known for years. She said, I supported them on Patreon. And I'm wondering if she's talking about Star Wars theory there. And then she dropped the mic. Some of them I respect. Some are snake oil salesmen, opportunists. And then, of course, there are the fascists and racists. Now, I wanted to bring this up because these people that made this show and were part of this show have done nothing but bitch and complain and cry and whine about the people who watch Star Wars. That's all they've done. Okay? Look, people didn't like your show. People are free to go and complain and say they don't like your show. They're allowed to do that. And because they did that, you to go out there and say they're racist and fascists and things like that is completely uncalled for. And that is a big problem with the type of people that they've been hiring at Lucasfilm and Disney and things like that. This is why Lesley Headland will never work for Lucasfilm again. At least I would hope so. For the simple fact that she literally just called the fans of Star Wars, a large group of fans of Star Wars, racist and fascists. Let's not forget that the star of the show went and made a music video in the middle of the season calling everybody racist. Like, This is the problem that happens because these people these days, they can't take criticism. Like I said, it's not, you take the politics and everything out of that show that they tried to push, which is very apparent in it, but you take that out of it. It is a poorly made Star Wars show, which is unfortunate because it had a cool concept, but they made a bad show. And obviously, they want to be proud of what they made. I get it. Everybody wants to be proud of something that they've made. But you made, Lesley Headland, you, and everybody that worked on it, made a bad Star Wars show. Just like Rian Johnson made a bad Star Wars movie. Just like J.J. Abrams made a bad Star Wars movie. You made a bad Star Wars show. Now you can accept it, move on with your life, and just say, hey, I got to play in the sandbox I always wanted to play in, and it didn't work out. Or you can bitch and complain and blame everybody else but yourself. It's up to you, but doing the latter is not going to get you anywhere. It's not. It's kind of pathetic, actually. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that because, look, it's gone to a point where Star Wars is in such a bad place. I know so many people say Star Wars is already dead and it's never going to get any better. This is why. This is the type of stuff that we keep seeing. If we keep seeing the creators, the directors, the showrunners, the actors, the filmmakers, things like that come out and literally attack their fans, of course the fans are not going to be happy. Of course the fans are going to keep pushing back. That's exactly what's going to happen. So, and look, I get it. You're not happy. And I'm not going to say that there weren't some out there that weren't racist or weren't fascist or whatever you want to say. Like, I'm not going to say that some of them weren't in that mindset, because I'm sure there were. And they are assholes. But come on now. To sit there and call them out, because that's just, ignore them. Ignore them. You're giving them power here if there are those out there. You're giving them power. And you don't want to do that. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, though, in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about all this. Excellent. Okay. Where are we at here? Trayvon says she better be glad Star Wars is at Disney. If this was at WB, I can assure you Zaslav would have yanked this show faster than he did for Batgirl. Ain't that the truth? Kevco says, at least they used my goat, Kia D. Monday. Yeah, but they shouldn't have. They should not have used Kia D. Monday because he shouldn't have even been alive then. He shouldn't have even been alive at that point. That's one of the lore-breaking things they did. What else do we got? Anything? Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't know if you guys heard, but apparently, Lanterns got a major release date delay. Now, this is coming from MovieWeb. And they're saying that James Gunn had previously hinted that Lanterns would premiere before Supergirl, which we're going to get to that in a moment, which is set to open in theaters June 26. This led many to believe that this series was slated for a spring release as lead into Supergirl. This was supposed to create a spaced out release schedule of Lanterns in the spring, Supergirl summer, Clayface in fall. Now, Lanterns is set for an end of summer 2026 premiere date. That means it will come after Supergirl. Despite schools already being in session, the last day of summer will be September 22nd, 2026, meaning Lanterns could debut as late as Sunday, September 20th, 2026. This is odd. I say this is odd because, well, I say it's odd. Let me pull it up here because you can't delay something that never had a release date. Lanterns releasing late summer lines up with exactly what James Gunn said quite a while back. See, when he was asked for clarification if Lanterns would arrive before Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, this is what he said. He said, "We'll see when it comes out, but they're around the same time." And that comes from this IGN article in November of 2024. So a year ago. That is what he said. And you can see that here. Where's it at? When asked clarification, lands will arrive before Supergirl of Tomorrow. See, he said, "We'll see when it comes out, but they're around the same time, and we're getting ready to go into production on Lanterns." Again, that was last year of November. So there was never a release date. A lot of people were coming up with this whole, oh, it's going to come out April, March type of release date for Lanterns. Even I did. I believed it was because it made sense. It was because it made sense. Because James Gunn was like, it'll come out around the same time as Supergirl. So it was kind of like, okay, so around the same time. It comes out in June, so maybe April or May. So a lot of us were thinking April. And it made sense. You get an early release, you get a summer release, and you get a fall release, just like Movie Web said. But people are acting like this being moved is a bad sign. Some are saying that it's, a bad sign for DC Studios. Some are saying that it's a sign because of what's going on with the sale of Warner Brothers Discovery. I say it's just a sign of them taking their time and making sure that they get everything done and in order like they need to, so they put out quality content. Let's not forget that HBO Max is the one that is really who schedules out their content for HBO Max. So maybe it comes down to HBO Max. Maybe it's HBO Max who's like, you know what, we want this for later in the year. Maybe that's what it is. We don't know the real reasoning. I am leaning more towards that they want to make sure that they get everything done and right, with post-production and everything like that. But, who knows at this point? Now, how could it really be affected by, say, the sale? I don't think it is. Some are saying that it could be affected because they want to kind of separate a lot of things because they feel the sale is going to happen. They're going to make a decision here before the end of the year, and then by March, everything will get, signed pen to paper, and then everything after that is going to start to go through the regulators. And then you're going to look at probably a year or so until everything goes by. That doesn't make any sense to me. I've literally heard people say that, and they're saying that's why, because they don't want any distractions. It doesn't make any sense. There would be no distractions. You want business to go as normal during a sale because you want things to look, hey, things are going as needed, and then the other company that's buying them, they want to see things are going smoothly as it should go. They don't want to think that things aren't going like they should be going. So when it comes to the sale, I don't think it has anything to do with that. Now, could there be trouble at DC Studios? No. Again, James Gunn and Peter Safran have always been upfront about how they want to make sure everything is perfect before they get it out. And, whether it's a script, whether it's post-production, they want to give the most amount of time possible to make sure things are done how they want it. Look how long they gave Superman. Look how long they gave Supergirl to get done. They gave those movies so much time. Supergirl was getting almost nearly a year post-production, and Superman had a year post-production of time before these movies came out. So when it comes to Lanterns, maybe they feel like, hey, nearly a year of post-production or a year of post-production is what that show needs because of the type of show it is. So maybe that's what they felt was in the best interest for it. Or then it could come down to HBO Max. Maybe it comes down to HBO Max saying, look, we want this to come out towards the end of the year because we want to overload the fourth quarter of the year. We want to overload the third quarter. We want to do this for HBO Max. Again, we don't know. But nothing points to danger for DC Studios. Again, people want to take anything that looks suspicious and automatically say, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. It's still such a young studio. It's still such a young universe that, honestly, you can't determine anything like that from where they're at. You just can't. Because there's no norm for the studio. There's no like, oh, this is typical for the studio to, okay, they shoot this and it takes a year for this and then it comes out. They shoot this, it takes a year. Like, okay, we've seen that twice now. That's it. Like, maybe this is going to be the norm. Maybe it's going to be year post-production for everything moving forward. Maybe we find out Clayface gets delayed until Q1 of 2027. Who knows? Like, we don't know right now. Like, we don't know how things are going to play out because maybe they think, you know what, Clayface is going to need a little more post-production and we want to have that extra time. Again, we have to just sit back and just relax. And I'm not saying you guys, but I think, again, you start to hear just a little bit of change or something sounds bad. People love to just jump to the worst possible conclusion when most of the time it's not the worst possible conclusion. Most of the time it's just a business decision. Most of the time it's just hey, this is what's best for business. This is what's best for the project. This is what's best for what we need to do. And that's all it is. Now, I would love to sit here and say, hey, I know exactly what the problem is or what the issue is and why they're doing this. I don't know. But there's a whole lot of other reasons that it could be rather than just, oh, James Gunn is going to get fired, so they pushed it back. Like, that doesn't make any sense. People are just nuts. People are just nuts. That's all I have to say about that. But let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think about this. Why do you think Lanterns got pushed? And I won't even say got pushed because it wasn't even delayed. There was no. Why do you think Lanterns is now scheduled to come out the end of summer of 2026 as opposed to being scheduled earlier? Why do you think that? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do we got over here? Donovan says it's most likely quality assurance VFX. That's what I'm thinking. Whoops. Donovan says there's no evidence to suggest that Supergirl has any narrative relevance to Lanterns and vice versa. I hate that narrative. I mean, there could be, but really nothing that says anything otherwise. Critic Chris says they think DCU is in trouble because it's delayed to after Supergirl. Again, there's no reason to think that. Again, it just doesn't. Donovan, Lanterns is delayed. Oh shit! DC Studios is dead. Pack it up. Wilson. Gosh, I don't get why there are a ton of fake news bait leading revolve around DCU. Yeah, I don't get it either, dude. It's just it's maddening. It's maddening. It's getting old, is what it is. It is really getting old. Donovan says there's literally been no controversies at DC Studios since its founding. There haven't been. People try to create controversies, like fans and haters have tried to create it, but there's not been anything. Hunter Iggy, did you see that Paramount Plus is getting my Michael Keaton Batman movie on the 1st of December? I did not see that, but that's awesome. Trayvon goes, it's still coming out in 2026, people. Calm your tits. I agree. Calm your tits. All right, before we move on to the next story, I do have just a little ad for you guys to listen to here. It's all right. It's all right. Because there are some times when people just need a little help. When they're underperforming, they just need a little help. And, well, I might have the fix for you. Do you struggle with performance issues? Is your partner feeling disappointed in the bedroom? You're not alone. Recent studies show that overanalyzing, obsessing, and hyperfixating on Zack Snyder and his DCEU movies may cause a sudden loss in motivation, intimacy, and overall performance. This condition is known as Snyder dysfunction, a chronic reaction triggered by hashtags, conspiracy theories, and waiting years for movies that will never be made. But now there's hope. Introducing DCU. DCU is a brand new treatment developed by filmmakers James Gunn and Peter Safran, designed to combat the root cause of your performance problems. DCU works by gently resetting your brain's emotional receptors, stimulating excitement, joy, and actual forward momentum. Side effects may include renewed happiness, increased energy, improved bedroom confidence, and an uncontrollable desire to say, wow, DC movies are fun again. Ask your doctor if DCU is right for you. Because when the Snyder obsession fades, your performance rises. All right. I hope you enjoyed that message from our sponsor of DCU. If you have some issues, talk to your doctor. They may be able to help. But yes, that's that's a fun little thing. Also tonight, immediately after this show, I will have a members only live stream. It's for members, so if you are a member, you can jump over there, be part of the live stream if you want. Otherwise, if you're not a member yet, you can become a member. $2.99 get you to be a member. You can support the channel, support me. You get some cool little emojis you can use that are just for you. You get a little banner, not a banner, whatever, little thing that goes next to your name. And then you get free member exclusive videos, at least one a week. So yeah, that is what you can do if you want to become a member. So yeah, there you have it. Moving on to the next topic. Okay, Supergirl. So guys, we are what I believe is going to be like a few weeks away from getting our first tease, hopefully tease, of Supergirl. So it begs the question, is Supergirl going to steal the show at CCXP this year? And I think all signs point to yes. So we have CCXP, which, if you don't know, it is the big Brazil comic convention. It happens every December. This year it is what days is it? December 4th and 8th. So that's exciting. So we're just like, what is that? A week and a half away, something like that. So it's coming. The question is, are we going to get a teaser there? Or are we going to get something there? And if we get it there, is it going to then be shown to us, to the crowd that doesn't happen to make it to Brazil? So the DCU may not be gearing up for a massive presence down there, but there is chatter of some strategic teases. And it looks like Woman of Tomorrow is primed to be a breakout moment of the entire event. Now, Supergirl is the most anticipated DCU project for 2026, not because of leaks or hype, but because the story itself is a powerhouse. Millie Alcock is a rising star, plus James Gunn's confidence in the film, and you get a recipe for the kind of spotlight-stealing moment that conventions like CCXP are made for. So, what should we expect? That's what I'm asking. Could we expect a teaser, behind-the-scenes look, some tone-setting footage, some character reveals? I don't know exactly, but if DC Studios plays this right, CCXP could be the moment audience finally see Supergirl, the DCU Supergirl, not as a side character, but as a franchise pillar. Let's not forget that they are going to have a Supergirl experience type of, like a thing set up there. I can't think of the word I'm looking for there, but they are going to have a presentation of, not a presentation, but I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Anyways, they're going to have a thing built there for Supergirl. So it looks like they are going to put some kind of presence for Supergirl there, and they are going to have Warner Brothers there. DC Studios is going to be there. Like, they are going to have a presence at CCXP. Let's also not forget that last year, James Gunn was really, really busy post-production on Superman, post-production on Peacemaker. Like, he was in the dead heat of all of that. This year, he's a little more hands-off on things. Like, he's not in the middle of all this stuff. He has a little more time to maybe pop up, as a surprise, or pop up and do this kind of stuff. Not saying that he's scheduled to be there and he's not scheduled to be there, but you never know. Or it could just be, via satellite or something like that. Anything is possible. I think, though, that even if we don't get a teaser there, I think we're going to see, even if we don't get it, I think the fans there are going to get something that's really going to excite fans. Even if it's a behind the scenes look. Maybe they get, remember that footage, that leaked footage we were getting of Supergirl fighting on those tanks and stuff? Maybe they get some behind the scenes footage of that, because it's footage that's already out there. And studios will do that sometimes when they show behind the scenes footage. They're like, oh, people already know this is a scene that's out there, so let's just give them a different look from our perspective, real behind the scenes footage. Maybe they'll show that and we'll get a better look at Supergirl's costume. Maybe we'll see who she's fighting, or maybe we won't, because I still don't think we're going to see Lobo until like the first real trailer, but maybe. I don't know. But I think that Supergirl is going to steal the show at CCXP. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because we are just days away from this, 10 days away essentially from CCXP. And that means we could be 10 days plus, maybe a few more days, from really getting information on Supergirl. Now, I've also said that there's a possibility they do the same thing they did with Superman, where they do like a special event, hold a special event for media for the teaser trailer, and then release it like a week later. I don't think they're going to do that, though. I just have a feeling they're not going to do that, because the reason why they did that for Superman is because, one, it was Superman. Two, it was the first film in the DCU. And three, they had to make it feel special. I'm not saying they don't have to make Supergirl feel special. I'm not saying that this isn't a big deal, but they can start handling the movies now moving forward more like your typical films, not so much like Superman was being handled. That doesn't mean they won't do that. Maybe they want to. Maybe they want to make every single film feel like a huge event. More power to them. But that is a lot of money to spend on each and every single movie. So I don't think they're going to go that route every single time. Throwing up a teaser, at a convention that they were already going to, that's cheaper than going to a convention and then doing that special type event type of thing. So that's just my thoughts. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I do think that Supergirl is going to steal the show at CCXP for sure, but I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments below. What are you saying over here, guys? What are you saying? Okay. What are you saying? Nothing. There you go. Donovan says Supergirl following the same pattern as Superman marketing. It could. Donovan says it will be a teaser. All industry insiders are pointing to that being the case. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a teaser. Donovan, rumor has it is that Doomsday teaser will be released online before Avatar. See, that's another thing. That's another thing you have to consider. Another thing you have to consider is Doomsday is going to have a teaser out in the middle of December. You do not want Supergirl to be overshadowed by Doomsday teaser. You just do not want it to happen. So if you put out Supergirl the beginning of December, you get it out at CCXP and allow it to breathe, have a couple weeks before the Doomsday one comes out, that's probably your best move. Otherwise, you wait until the end of December or January to put it out. Because, look, for as much as I think that I know Avengers is going to make money. I know Doomsday is going to make money. But it's all money grab. I don't think the movie's going to be good. I don't. I don't have much faith in that movie. But I know people are going to watch that trailer. I know people are going to go to that movie. So I know people are excited about it. So yeah, I think you don't put that trailer up against that. Willie Fistagash. I thought it was funny. Supergirl fan art being used for the expo was mistaken by Aaron Fisher as the actual teaser poster. He loves, see, here's the thing with him. And let me tell you, I don't know if you guys saw his complete crash out the other day on something I posted, but it was an all-time great crash out ever. But he loves to jump to conclusions. Like, he doesn't understand that if you see it online, you should not immediately believe it. Like, first thing you should do is look at who's posting it. Second thing you should do is verify who's posting it. Third thing you should do is then verify it 2 or 3 more times from reputable sites or sources to make sure it's real. And he just has never done that. Like, he has talked about video, like on his videos, about stories about things from Matt Reeves and things that Matt Reeves has said that was completely false and fake. And I'm not gonna lie. I've gotten hit before in the past, but I've learned from my mistakes, and I've now sat back and said, I don't want to be, caught again. So I double, triple, quadruple check everything I do before I repost it or even talk about it on my channel. But him, he sees it and he's just got to explode because he just has to. He has to. There's this thing in him that is just so like broken when it comes to James Gunn. It is absurd. Like there's something broken in him. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Let's see. Anything else here? Wilson says, I have no hype for Doomsday anymore. Fantastic Four First Steps is kind of a letdown for me. It wasn't very good. Kevko says he got caught out by Snyder fans for not. Maybe that's why he had his complete meltdown the other day on me. Maybe he just couldn't stand being called out by more people. Chris says, careful, Slav, Aaron will threaten to sue you as well. Well, he threatened to copyright my channel if I ever showed anything of him on here ever again. So we'll see. All right. Clayface update. Maybe. If it wants to load. Maybe. This is an interesting one. I can't verify this, but if this is true, this is very, very interesting. So I want you all to take this with a giant grain of salt because I think this is pretty close to probably being accurate. I will say it might be a little higher than this. But Clayface Updates, which says it's a fan account on X, says the budget for the Clayface movie is only $40 million. I figured it was going to be closer to like that $60-70 million range, but $40 million, if that is true, man, that would be fantastic. That would be a guaranteed hit for them because this movie is easily going to make $100-150 million at the box office just because it's a DC film. Just that alone, it's going to make $150 million. And it's probably going to make more than that if it's good. And that's kind of the idea behind what James Gunn is doing and Peter Safran are doing. And this is the brilliant thing here. You make a big budget one, and then you make a small budget one, and you make a lot of money. Make a big budget one, make a small budget one, make a lot of money. Make a big budget, because you don't make a lot of money with those big budget films. You just don't. Even if you make $1 billion, you don't typically make a lot of that money back. Even if you make $1 billion. But when you make those smaller budget films and say they make a shit ton of money, that's where you're making a lot of your money. So that's really brilliant. This is why I've been saying for years, guys, for years, Nightwing Nightwing is the way to go. Uh-oh. My dog's barking. Don't know why. But it scared me a little bit. But I've been saying for years, Nightwing is the way to go. You go with a Nightwing movie that's grounded. You don't need a lot of special effects. And you can make it for under $100 million. People would buy into that, love that. It would make bank. Get James Gunn on the phone for me. We can hash it out. We can get a good story and we can get it made. You hear that, James Gunn? Let's do it. All right. Final story before we get into what I want to talk about here for the last 10 minutes. Superman is up for more awards, guys. Come on now. Come on now. Superman lands 4 spots on the Critics' Choice Awards Artisan Shortlist, including Best Visual Design, Best Stunt Design, Best Sound, and Best Hair and Makeup. Let's see. So it's up for Golden Globes. It's in for your consideration for the Academy Awards. And now it's up for Critic Choice Awards. Look, all I've got to say is a movie that is such a big failure and is terrible would never be up for this type of accolades. It just wouldn't be. Okay? People love this movie. Critics love it. Audience loves it. It's going to be nominated at the Academy Awards. It's nominated. It's going to be nominated at the Golden Globes. This is like, this movie is huge. It's huge. And what people don't seem to understand is a movie, it made $616 million financially at the box office. Did it profit? Look, I'm not going to argue about this. It may have lost 40 million. It may have made 150 million. I don't know. I don't even care. I don't care. I don't. Because the movie has done exactly what it has needed to do. It's gotten interest back for DC. It's gotten people excited about Superman and DC. And what this does, when people are going to be sitting on their couch watching the Golden Globes, sitting on their couch watching the Academy Awards, reading the paper, reading the magazine, seeing the nominations for Academy Awards, for the Golden Globes, seeing this, that it's up for Best Visual, Best Stunt, Best Sound, Best Hair and Makeup, when it's seen that it's nominated, and best case scenario that it wins some of these awards, which I still say it's possible to win some of these. So best case, it wins some of these awards. You don't think that some of those people sitting there watching this, reading these, are going to sit there and say, you know what? There must be something going on with this DC. There must be something fun, interesting, exciting going on with this DC universe. That's exactly what this movie's supposed to be doing. That's what it's supposed to be doing. And I've been saying it for over a year. It's not all about making big money immediately. It's never been about that. It's about getting people back on board for DC. That's what it's been about. And it's doing that now. It's what it's been doing. If it makes a few bucks in the beginning too, awesome. Awesome. But it's an investment. That's why they're doing things like Clayface, lower budget movies, to help bring in that profit, to make up the difference. That's why they're doing that. But, people want to just bitch and complain because they don't understand the business. They don't. They don't want to understand the business because they just are driven by passion for something else. And they want to believe scoopers who don't know what they're talking about because they have no idea about the business. And that's the problem. But this is exciting news. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. All right. Donovan says he's a punk rocker. Yes, he is. Indeed, you are, sir. Indeed, you are. And Donovan says, win for best jokey jokes. They should have an award for that just to piss off the Snyder Bros. What else we got? Willie Fistagash says best costume design goes to harsh critics for his Man of Steel t-shirt and smoking jacket combo. Fred Sanford lives. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. Critic Chris, Snyder Bros wouldn't know the difference between a flop and success, as they wouldn't know the difference between a sneeze and a wet fart. Movie Talk Now says I can see Superman winning for visuals. It's very possible. Trayvon says I do have to say you want something that makes you loathe test screening audiences. The removal of those day of the week title cards that would have made Superman flow a whole lot more smoothly. Maybe. Hosea says they follow whatever fits their specific narrative. Yes. All right. So I actually don't have anything to pull up on screen for this topic, but I did want to talk about the craziness that is currently going on with the DC fandom. I do. And look, the last week has been really, really, really bizarre and interesting. I'm not even going to say interesting. It's just been bizarre. It's been bizarre. Like I said, this past week, Aaron Fisher lost his mind. I posted a video on, not even on YouTube. It wasn't even on YouTube. It was just on X. I posted it on X. He made a live video, or not live video, a YouTube video. He made a YouTube video where he was talking about the sale of Warner Brothers Discovery. And in it, he said that he's never played one side or the other when it comes to the Snyderverse or James Gunn's DCU. He's never played one side or the other. That he doesn't care. He's never played one side or the other, but he just wants the Snyderverse restored. And he doesn't care if they keep James Gunn's DCU going at that point. Like, those are his words in his video. And I was, somebody, I think it was Movie Hubbub, who actually was like, did you see this? And I was like, no, because I don't watch his stuff. So Movie Hubbub showed it to me and I was like, no. So I watched it and I was like, this is wild. This is absolutely, like, did he really say that? Like, all he's ever done is say, fire James Gunn, fire James Gunn, fire James Gunn. He's been restore the Snyderverse. Even in his own words in the video, he says, I've never been one side or the other, but restore the Snyderverse. And then he goes, you can keep James Gunn. Like, what? What is going on here? So I just made a really funny video where I just took his words and it was just him saying what he said. And then I put a little clip saying, this is the dumbest thing, from, I think it's, what is that from? I can't remember what movie that's from. Ghostbusters? I don't remember. Anyways, but, I put that in there and he lost his mind, completely lost his mind. And like, I was just like, he was like, you're taking it out of context. I'm just like, well, tell me what the context is then. Like, I will gladly correct myself if you tell me what the context is. But he never could. And then he blocked me and then he threatened to copyright strike me and all this stuff. I was like, dude, whatever, like, just go away. So that's one thing. Just crazy. Again, the fandom's crazy. You have this stuff going on with Cosmic Book News where he's just constantly throwing out all this stuff about Snyderverse. Snyderverse is coming back. First, it's, the Arabs or Saudi Arabia is going to buy Warner Brothers and restore the Snyderverse. And that's like, that's what's happening. Saudi Arabia is buying it. And then all of a sudden, oh no, Comcast is going to be backed by Saudi Arabia. And then the news is actually, well, Paramount is going to be backed by Saudi Arabia. And then he's like, oh yeah, that's what I meant to say. That's what I meant to say. And Paramount's going to bring it back. Meanwhile, he said that, no, Christopher Nolan was talking to Universal and that's why they're going to be backed. And that's why they're going to come back. And Nolan and Snyder are going to come back and do it. And then the fandom is like eating this all up. They're choosing to like believe all of this. So then you have the other side of things, which are the DC fans or the Gunn fans or or the non-Snyder fans, and they're pushing back as well. Now, you could sit there and say, "Oh, Slav, what do you fall on?" And look, you guys know this. A lot of my viewers, a lot of you know this. Like, I'm a fan of Zack Snyder's films. I liked his DC stuff. Man of Steel is my favorite superhero film. I still like it more than James Gunn's Superman. I do. I liked Superman, but I like Man of Steel better. But I don't like the Snyder fandom. I just don't. I don't like the Snyder fandom. I haven't for quite a few years at this point now. So when I sit here and I see this, I push back on it because it's maddening. It's ridiculous, the stuff that's going on. So yeah, I fall on that side, but I'm starting to see that side of the fandom also starting to kind of turn into what the Snyder fandom is, just on the James Gunn side. And it kind of worries me because I don't want to see a legit quote unquote gun cult, have you? Like I sit here and I say all the time, I'm a fan of James Gunn. I'm a fan of James Gunn's movies. I'm a fan of Zack Snyder's movies. I don't care if they're making DC movies or not, or part of DC or not, because I am first and foremost a fan of DC, the IP, and I want to see Batman movies, Superman movies, Wonder Woman movies, Wonder Twin movies. I don't care if it's DC IP. I want to watch it. And I hope that it's good. And if it's not good, then I'll move on to the next one. And hopefully that's good. Like, that's what I want to see. That's what I want to take in. But I'm starting to see the Gunn fandom, or the DC fandom, or the not Snyder fandom, I should say, turn like the fandom more into, this crazy, like over obsessive gun support fandom, almost to the gun cult side of things. And I don't like seeing that, because I don't think that's how it should be. And I'm not saying any of you in here are like that. I'm just saying I'm starting to see it. And it worries me because, like I said, the fandom is getting crazy right now. And it's only going to get worse. I remember a couple years ago, when the Discovery deal was about to happen, the merger with Discovery was about to happen. And there was a lot of talk about the Snyderverse coming back, and David Zaslav will be our savior. The Snyder fandom was completely unhinged at that time. I see it happening again now. The only difference is, back then, nobody was on really Walter Hamada's side. Nobody really cared about Walter Hamada. Nobody really cared what was going on with the DCEU at the time. Sure, people were excited about the Flash and Black Adam and things, but there wasn't anybody like, oh yeah, I'm real excited about Walter Hamada. Woohoo, let's go. Whereas today we see fans and people who are like, yes, James Gunn, James Gunn, James Gunn. And it's kind of like, guys, you're kind of falling into what happened with the Snyder fandom. Calm down a little bit. Calm down. Like, you can appreciate what James Gunn is doing, but calm down a little bit. I don't want to see everybody falling into that same habit, because if by some chance Netflix gets Warner Brothers, or Universal does, and they do fire James Gunn, I don't want to see everything get flipped around, or I don't want to see two groups of people restore Gunverse, and restore Snyderverse going. And then we have two groups of fandoms demanding Warner Brothers to restore universes, because I don't want to see that either. But that's my concern that's going on right now with the fandom. And don't get me wrong, the Snyderverse fandom right now is still far worse, and it's going to get worse, because that's what the Scoopers are doing right now. They're doing exactly what they did a few years ago with the Discovery merger. And it's going to get worse, because they see that they're going to get clicks. They see that they have these people in the palm of their hand, and they can tell them whatever they want, and they're going to believe it, and they're going to grasp onto it. Whereas with the non-Snyder fans, right now, things are still going well for them. They still have the DCU to look forward to. So things are still going well. But there's that slight chance that things could just turn on a dime, and go bad, and I worry about that, and I don't want to see it happen. And that's kind of what I've been seeing on social media as of late. And I was talking to one of my buddies, and he actually brought up to me the other day. He's like, "Look, I don't want to see this happen." And I said, "Look, I feel you. I'm seeing the same thing, and I don't want to see it happen either." Another person was just like, "Look, I want to make a pact that we don't, that I never talk about Snyderverse stuff on my channel." I get it, man. Some people just are sick of it, sick of both things, because the fandom is just getting too wild with everything. You have people who are just losing their minds, like Aaron Fisher. You have Cosmic Book News, who are just utilizing the Snyderverse for their own profit and their own gain. You have people like Lethal Geeks who just can't read the room and are trying to gatekeep. They literally said the other, I don't know if it was the other day or yesterday, today, or something like that, where somebody was like, "Hey, why don't we animate it?" And he's like, "No, you can't animate it. It has to be live action or nothing. You have to." It's like, look, first off, I think that it should just be one hashtag. I do. And I know I push the animate hashtag and animate stuff. But here's the thing. Who are you to say that that person can't wish for animation? Like, why? Like, how are you going to gatekeep something that guy wants? Like that, like that's the kind of stuff that you're seeing with these fandoms. Like, people are just like so angry, so obsessed. And I just don't want to see that happen to the non-Snyder fandom, because it's so easy to fall into that habit, especially when you have another side that's just egging you on constantly and constantly egging you on. And I just don't want to see it happen. And I think that if we work together in making sure it doesn't happen, and we try to just, hold each other up and hold each other accountable, and make sure that we are all just staying vigilant and making sure, like, hey, look, we can call out the bullshit. We can call out the misinformation. We can call it the ridiculousness, but let's not fall into the habits that they have. I think that by the end of everything will be okay. I think we'll be good to go. I think we can move forward and just say, hey, we've done a good thing. Whether James Gunn is here in 2 years or not, look, we had a good run. Let's see what happens now after that. And that's just my opinion. That's my opinion. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it in the comments, because it does worry me. It does worry me. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Trayvon says, "Where's Geekosity these days?" Well, I guess you didn't hear. I guess it was about 2 years ago. The guy who created Geekosity, Mikey Sutton, passed away. So that's what happened there. Trayvon says, "Even our movie news would be shaking his head at Lethal Geeks." Kevco TV, Zach even talked to Warner Brothers DC about it being done as graphic novel or animation around the time his cut released. Yeah. Donovan says, "I'm not gatekeeping the Snyderverse being animated, but I come at it logistically and critically, where there are many things that won't lead it to, which I'm happy to go into more detail soon." Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing. Like, if we talk about things like that, if we talk about the Snyderverse, there's one guy who just constantly says, like, look, here's the thing, man. I'm just reading the tea leaves. Like, you got Paramount, you got Trump, you got Saudis, you got this, you got that. It just makes sense. Makes sense that Snyder's going to be back. Well, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Like, just because Zack Snyder is planning on doing a UFC movie with the Saudis backing him doesn't mean that he'll be back to do the Snyderverse if the Saudis are backing Paramount. Because the deal that Paramount makes with the Saudis may say you have no creative input at all. We don't know that. So there could be nothing there at all. And that's what some people are so disillusioned by this whole aspect, and they think they know and understand everything that's coming because they want to believe so badly that Zach is going to come back. They forget to realize that he was wronged for, like, him being pushed out from the Snyder or from Justice League was the wrong. That wrong was righted when he came back and got to do the Snyder cut. Full stop. Him not being able to do Justice League 2 or 3 and things like that, that wasn't a wrong. That is Hollywood. That is how it works. You can go through the history of Hollywood and see countless filmmakers who don't get to complete and do planned sequels, planned trilogies, planned continuations of films and things like that. That's how Hollywood works. Sometimes you can plan out 3 or 4 movies and you get to complete those movies. Sometimes you can plan them out and it doesn't pan out for you and you don't get to do them all. That's just how Hollywood works. That doesn't mean the filmmaker was wronged. That doesn't mean that they're owed that because, oh, he got pushed out. He wasn't allowed to complete them. That's not how it works. That's not it's not how it is. I will 100% agree. What happened during the shooting of Justice League? Yes, he was wrong. Yes, how they treated him and mistreated the cast, they were all wronged. But that wronged was right by AT&T. They allowed him to release the Snyder Cut. Discovery owes him nothing, not a single thing. Whatever company takes over now owes him nothing. He's not owed anything by anyone. It's that simple. So, but anyways, getting back to the fandom, I just don't think it's really anywhere like it should be right now. And it just worries me. It worries me. Like there's so much back and forth and it does worry me. It does. It surely does. All right. But I better get out of here because I got to go prep for the members only live stream. Again, $2.99 to become a member. Support me, the channel. You get, like I said, member only videos, things like that. And yeah, I'm going to talk about how Netflix has canceled Snyder films, and what does that exactly mean, if it means anything. But let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, share this around. And with all that said, I will catch you all